All right, welcome to the show, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, building damage experts. And every week we have a new podcast and a new show for you. I'm your host, Richie Kidwell, and we have attorney Hans Kennon with the Kennon Law Group here with us today, talking about what the FIGA. So what that means is we're going to talk about the home insurance claims handling process. More specifically, if you have a carrier like UPC that went into receivership recently in the state of Florida and went over to FIGA, what that means and what to expect. What's going on, Hans?
Hey, I'm glad to be here as always. We've been doing what, like 4? Is it like 4 years now? 3? I mean, it's been a long time.
It has been, and over the years, the show has changed. We were a Florida Man Radio. It was a live call-in show on Saturdays. Yeah. Flipped over to like a Sunday situation. Now we're like, here we are. Like, well, Sunday before that, my bad. It was Sunday way before that when I did so long. Then we went to Saturdays, and now here we are in a podcast, in a video podcast, not no doubt either.
We're really just like worldwide now.
Really? I mean, you can find us anywhere. China, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
YouTube is where we'd want you to go. If you're watching us now on Facebook, go over to our YouTube page, find out more about us, like us, subscribe us, listen and watch every show. If you're on Spotify, you can listen to every show there. All the audio is streamed over there. So every week a new show is out. Now, since we switched over to full-time podcast, video podcast, we're now much shorter because we were on the radio for 2 hours on iHeartRadio for the past years.
Yeah,
and now we're out of that bit, and now we're just on podcast only. So no commercials. It's just all the way through. So we're going to shorten them up a little bit, about 20, 30-minute episodes, so you don't get too bored here on a subject. We can talk about this stuff forever. So.
And we have, so which is why I think this format is going to be better. And we used to go to commercial break, and I would try to like remember my thoughts like for after the break, and just felt like the momentum would kind of drop.
Right. You
have to bring it back up. So now we can just kind of go with the topic until we think we've run out of important information for the consumer.
That's right. And if you are a consumer listening and you have had to deal with this type of home insurance claims process, this is a show you want to listen to. Even if you're an expert, a roofer, a public adjuster, an attorney, any of those folks that work or live within this industry, as we do, Hans, to really just give you some advice, or especially now, just some tips to how to deal with these Florida home insurance claims process. If you do have a claim, and it's usually damage to your home or structure that supersedes your deductible. In my head, that's where I'm at. That's why I have insurance. That's why I have car insurance. If I get dinged, sideswiped, or rear-ended, or whichever, and the damages supersede my deductible, then I'm probably going to go ahead and file that claim. Same thing for home insurance. Now, if you're worried about the claims, how do you want to say, the loss runs, whenever you go shop for insurance, that's part of it. How many claims have you had the past 3 years? Well, a hurricane claim does not count against your loss runs. So, for instance, in the state of Florida, our recent big storm was Hurricane Ian. That was 9/28/2022, so September 28th. And we have 2 years. The law was, at that point in time, the law said you had 2 years to report first notice of claim, 3 years to supplement. So meaning that if you had a Hurricane Ian claim, you can still, if you still haven't filed it, you still can. I mean, it's late.
Yeah, we don't advise waiting the full term of the statute, which is now 18 months anyway.
Right. Today, it's 18 months. Now, back then, because you're still living under that law, then you still have 2 years. But either way, so now the law has changed where you have 1 year.
1 year.
1 year to file first notice of claim.
Remember, because in the middle there, they changed it once again, and then they changed it, I think, 3 times, at the end of the day.
It's changed 3 times in 5 years. I mean, it started out being 5 years, as normal law would keep it, and that's for all storms. And then they made it to where it's a hurricane, then it was 3 years, and then 5 years.
Yeah.
And then they changed it to all storms, 2 years, and then 3 years. And they changed it again.
Right.
All storms, to include all storms, 1 year to file first notice of claim, 18-month supplement.
Yeah.
So it's really changed dramatically in the past 5 years on when you can report the claim. So we just can tell you now that go ahead and, as soon as you know that there are damages to your structure, get it inspected, and you can give us a call at Air Quality Assessors, AQA, airqualityassessors.com. We do those types of inspections, but you get somebody to inspect the damages, whether it be a professional roofer, whether it be a contractor, an estimator, somebody that works in this arena. You can call an attorney directly. You can call a public adjuster directly if you're a consumer. those are the two industry professionals that can help you, an attorney or public adjuster. Those public adjusters will, or attorneys or experts would then be used to evaluate the damages of the claim. And if they fall under the policy, then your public adjuster or attorney can then represent you. Or if you're a homeowner, you can get those estimates by the professionals like the roofer, the general contractor, submit to your insurance company, and hopefully get the claim ball rolling. And so with that, now to understand, and today's show is going to be talking about what the FIGA. And so a lot of people had those UPC policies, for instance, the United Property and Casualty policies. Right. That there was 91,000 policies issued in the state of Florida. Out of 6.5 million HO3 policies, 91,000 of them were United or UPC. So, and then as you guys remember, UPC is still alive and well. They just decided to dump Florida and give all of their great policies over to, we talked about this guy before, Bruce.
Over to Slide.
Right.
Yeah.
Just slid them over to Slide. And now Brian Lucas now had the advantage of buying 91,000 policies, or the advantage of taking 91,000 great policies, and then they shaved off the claims, and they sent those, anything that was claimed at that point in which they left Florida, went over to FIGA. So the Florida Insurance Guaranty Association, that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yep.
Well, recently, I'll just keep it rhyming though. Recently, they just got a stay down by the bay. Just couldn't. But so UPC is now under a stay, meaning that they went back to the court and said, "Hey, we need more time."
Which is their second. I was there the first stay of 6 months.
Correct.
Now they're the second stay, so they'll have an entire year between. Well, really for FIGA, which we're talking about today, to examine all those claims and actually start the process, hopefully.
Right. So what that means, if you had a claim on a UPC policy, then they're under a stay until it releases, I believe, on March 24th of 2024 here. So next month, that stay will be released, and then you will have to bring your action against FIGA. Is that correct?
It is. But there's a lot of things that happen with that, because you have to actually get a form from FIGA. What's interesting is you can't really, like normally you would call into the insurance and say, "Hi, I have a property claim." What FIGA does, I think for tracking purposes, and the fact that they're run by the state, and it's Florida Insurance Guaranty Association, they're like the safety net in case a regular insurer goes out of business. You have to contact them. They will then send you a form. They assign a claim number to it, and they send you a form to fill out. That becomes your notice of claim.
And now you've already filed the claim in this instance you're talking about?
I mean, not as I'm saying, no. You call them and tell them, and then they send you a form. Okay. Then you fill it out. But the problem is they send it by mail. My understanding is, unless they've changed it recently, they send it by U.S. mail. So you got to watch your mail. You get the form. You got to fill it out, and it's a variety of things you have to do, and then return it back to FIGA. And at that point, then they start the process. The problem we're into is, like I said, with
what happens if you already filed the claim and then it's just sitting there doing nothing?
Well, obviously you would have originally had a claim with the insurer, the one who went out of business,
right?
But then you have to advise FIGA that you're essentially restating your claim with them. Now, what they're supposed to do, and again, the reason that there's some vagaries, as we would say, is that what they're supposed to do is send you the form once they start reviewing the insurer's files and figuring out what all the claims are. They're supposed to mail you the form. The problem is it doesn't really come in some big envelope that says, important FIGA insurance claim. It just kind of comes, it looks like junk mail. A lot of people end up throwing them away. And the problem you have is that if I have a blank FIGA notice of claim form, you really can't even use it because it's supposed to have a claim number on it. So when you mail it back in, obviously it gets attached to that file. Mm. So you have to be and this is where lawyers and public adjusters come in handy, because there's deadlines to do that. And again, you can't just go, "Oh no, it's the last day. Let me download the form off the internet." No. You have to call them and call them typically, or you can write to them, and they will then send you the form. So if you're a tight window, you literally can have trouble because you won't have a claim number assigned to your claim by FIGA. And that all sounds, well, how bad is that? Well, if you don't submit it timely, which we always talk about on this show, then they can deny your claim because you failed to do so. So to the extent your insurer's out of business, and you as a consumer, it's hard to know when the stay is lifted. It's normally 6 months from the date they go into bankruptcy. Again, with UPC, FIGA and UPC asked for an additional 6 months. So people are waiting a year a year in order to get their claim started with FIGA.
Wow.
And FIGA also, just so we all know, well, I'll tell you, is that FIGA is not responsible for attorney's fees. So to the extent there might have been a claim for attorney's fees that your lawyer was allowed to make in addition to your benefits, by statute, that claim is gone.
So I heard this. Tell me, fact or fiction here?
Sure.
I heard that if you bring a breach against FIGA and it's a full denial, then you'll be able to get attorney's fees and costs. But
if your insurer denied the claim totally, and then FIGA, interestingly enough, they have to actually affirmatively tell you they're abiding and standing by the denial. So you can sue them and say, well, they in fact are denying my claim, and they'll go, we haven't actually said that. And you're like, well, you didn't pay me.
You didn't pay me. So, yeah.
I mean, but it's weird. So when you actually set up the complaint against FIGA, you have to actually state that they have affirmatively, and that's even in the statute. So and just the passage of time is not a denial. Like with a normal insured, you go, hey, look, I gave you plenty of time. You didn't write to me. You didn't write back. So we're going to go sue you. Maybe that survives. But under FIGA, if you go to sue FIGA, before you can do that, they have to make an affirmative acknowledgement that they're not going to pay the claim.
Well, what if you submit a notice of intent to litigate and give them 10 days and they don't respond?
That's not going to apply to them for that purpose, because they really run under their own time frame. Now, we've done that just to kind of poke the bear a bit, to try to get some response to get them to say something, because a lot of times they go dark on you. And we always talk about it a little bit like, no offense to the nice folks at the DMV, because I will say the DMV has gotten much better over the years.
Has it? Okay.
At least I find, at least one in Seminole County, there's a good one on Westmont if you're looking for a local office.
Well, let's talk about the DMV in Miami.
But yeah, I don't think I want to go there.
Right, I wouldn't.
It's like going to Claude Pepper building or something. Yeah, it's just not something you want to do. But with all that said, they're like a little bit like the DMV of insurance, where you get in a line, like I said, you mail it to them, they send you a form back, you fill it out, you mail it back in. They write you back, they don't write you back. They send in a generic envelope, you're not sure exactly what it is or what it's for. They ask you a lot of questions, including do you get Medicare? Oddly enough, there are things like that on that form. So you got to fill that out, and then you have to provide them all the information and correct information. One thing you're allowed to do, once you make a claim, you can't submit another claim, but you can supplement the existing claim you have, which I guess in theory makes sense. But if you say, oh, I got more damages, and you call them and say, need to make let's call it a new claim, you say, they'll tell you can't make a new claim. So most people go, oh, I guess I can't get reimbursed for these bills because I can't make a new claim.
Right.
No, you can supplement the existing claim, but you can't make a new one. Right. I mean, you can just tell from this discussion, as I like to say, there's a Byzantine number of options of how things occur. And again, if you don't submit it timely, your claim is barred. You submit it timely but want to supplement it, you have to do the supplement within the statutory time period also. Mm-hmm. A lot of ways for your claim to go bad.
All right. So stay on top of it. Know what your claim is, whether you're an insured, whether you're an assignee of an insured, as I am on many cases with UPC.
Yeah.
I'm an assignor on many of them as a mold testing company or as an engineering firm that did services for these folks, and then their insurer went out of business theoretically, or stopped writing here in Florida, and gave all the claim activity over to FIGA, the Florida Insurance Guaranty Association, and now they're chewing through them, as they have with FedNat, which FedNat rolled into Monarch,
right,
and gave all their claims. So there was really like Avatar. Which 30,000 policies. That's it.
St. John's went out.
St. John's, Gulfstream,
right. And one thing too, everyone should know: FIGA is paid by you. Luckily, it's a relatively small amount. But if you look at the back of your declaration sheet on your policy, usually at the very bottom, like the last couple of charges, there'll be a charge for FIGA. $20, $50, $100, whatever it might be, because FIGA is funded by the other policyholders. Luckily, it's not a huge number, but just if you ever think to yourself, well, how do they do this? You actually pay part of that premium, part of that debt or that requirement under your policy premium.
That's right. Every time you renew, you're paying that FIGA. It used to be $5 way back in the day. It's like a foot long, but now it's like it's like the new 20. It's like 100, like the new 20. Nowadays. So is what I think I paid $50 on my last FIGA or my last renewal on one of my policies, something like that. So, anyways, it is small peanuts in exchange for that, especially if you had an insurance carrier that did go insolvent and now you're getting paid by FIGA. You're like, whew, thank God.
Yeah. The thing is, like I said, talking about FIGA, though, if FIGA chooses to, now if they affirmatively deny your claim, again, they maintain the denial previously issued by your insurer, you can recover your attorney's fees in that situation from FIGA.
Okay. So I did hear that right.
Yeah, so that is correct. But if it's just...
like, say if they partially deny, then...
the statute is pretty clear that they have to, your insurer has to deny it fully, and they would also then deny it fully, and then you get some recovery. But if you want to go kind of fight about the margins of it all, at that time, there's no recovery. Right. Even if you win, you can't recover your attorney's fees from FIGA. So whenever you have a FIGA claim, the problem you run into is that if you come to see me, which I'm happy to help you with, the problem is that there's going to be some obligation of you to pay me out of those proceeds, and that's the same for anybody who's doing this type of work. Sometimes the navigation of the claim can be helpful. I had a case yesterday where a smaller claim, obviously, but we went to mediation and they'd previously offered $0. I got them to pay $30,000. So that worked out okay, and that can certainly happen. And my folks still got their roof replaced.
Estimate was probably $55,000. Right?
Exactly. So we still made. So honestly, the firm was able to make some money. Folks got a new roof. All they had to pay was their deductible, and it all worked out. And we do that really every day.
That's nice. Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. What was I going to say about the So many questions come up. Oh, I guess it's an example would be you had hurricane damage from Hurricane Ian. That was the most recent biggest storm over there. You turn everything into the insurer, and the insurer says, "Hey, listen, we got some ensuing damages. Here's a little check for the interior damages because everything got wet inside. But we're fully denying the roof."
Yes.
Now, would that be something you could get? I mean, they've issued some money, but then they're like, "I'm not
coverage.
giving you any more because we don't think that the roof is in need of full replacement."
And that happens often. And what Richie just referred to, in the sense he said, is the ensuing loss. There's a policy. There's a provision in your policy called the ensuing loss provision, which says that if your home, essentially, for an example, if the interior of your home is damaged through some water intrusion, let's say, they will pay for the damage to the interior. But if you say, well, the water came through the roof, and they disagree because they say there's been no storm-created opening, then they may deny the roof itself while still paying you money. Now, in that situation, our position is that is still suitable for what's called appraisal. If your policy has an appraisal provision, and you can submit that to kind of where you hire an appraiser, they hire an appraiser, and you hire what's called an umpire who acts as a judge. We do that often and do it in a lot of cases, and it works out, we think, well for our client.
Yeah, it would be, because usually appraisal is for if there is open coverage.
And there has to be open. If it's a total denial, you're not even entitled to go to appraisal. You have to.
It's either mediation or litigation, right?
Correct. Yes,
right?
Yes.
At that point. So to recap here, if you have a UPC policy, Southern Fidelity, I doubt any other people have, like, say, maybe an old FedNat policy or some entity that you have a letter that went insolvent and now you're with FIGA. There was a letter of stay or an amount of stay that you had to wait, like of a UPC policy, which is now what I'm telling you, March 24th, 2024. And at that point, then you could submit to FIGA. Now, is there anything that they need to do now, now?
Well, certainly, if your insurer's gone out of a business, even during the stay, if you hire us, we'll call FIGA. I'll call FIGA for you. If you still want to try to work on some of it yourself, you want to try to be a bit of a squeaky wheel with FIGA. Even though the 6-month stay is existent, you kind of want to call them and bother them a little bit and go, "Hey, I called you last week," just that. So when the flag does go down and it's time for everything to roll, you'd rather be the squeaky wheel and they go, "Hey, let's deal with this guy first." So certainly, because you want to make sure you get that notice of claim form, you want to make sure they know who you are, make sure they have your file. I mean, many a time we've submitted documentation and they go, "We don't have it." And you're like, what do you mean don't have it? Like,
so if a homeowner is listening right now, they've already submitted to UPC, and then now they're in a stay waiting period. Is there anything they need to do between now and March 24th?
As far as the state, no, I mean, but they really want to get that notice of claim into
FIGA, even though they've already made it to UPC. Now they need to contact FIGA under the same claim number, right?
Well, FIGA actually issues you a different claim number. So I mean because it's like a linear number. It's not tied to a policy or like certain like State Farm used to always be a 5.9 before, things along those lines. So no, you really want to stay, and FIGA may say like, don't bother me. Just bother them. I mean, again, it's the DMV aspect. You want them to be familiar with you and go, oh, here's somebody.
Right.
So squeaky wheel it. Always call them. Always reach out to them. Say, I need to get my notice of claim. I want to submit my notice of claim. And then again, if you do that and then have supplemental damage, again, always realize you're not going to make a new claim from a terminology perspective, but you're going to file a supplemental claim if you have more damage that comes with it.
Right. And supplemental, just like you said, is like if you have a tarp over your roof and you've submitted a certain amount of claims, say $50,000 worth of damage, a new storm comes in, blows the tarp off, $10,000 worth of water damage comes back in, then you're going to add that additional to that initial invoice. So if it was $50,000, now it's $60,000 or whatever it is.
Now, and keep in mind, I mean, when we talk about supplemental claims, we typically mean not a new loss, just from an example perspective. If there's a new storm that causes new damage, but certainly you may find that you have existing damage that gets worse. If you have an issue with water intrusion, you can only stop it so much, and it causes additional mold or additional damage. That won't be a new claim. That's a supplemental claim. If there's a new storm, then you still have to make a new claim with FIGA, which is as difficult as is making an existing claim with FIGA. You have to go through the process yet again if you have something else going on.
Right.
We usually find, interestingly enough, that on a typical claim where whatever someone submits, if you submit a claim, let's say for $25,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, FIGA always seems to offer $20,000. Like that seems to be like, how about $20,000? You're like, how about $45,000? Okay, I thought about it. How about $20,000?
Right.
Isn't that the same number you just said? I don't think so, but I'll pay $20,000. You're like, I swear that you're telling me this.
That's their max authority or something.
Yeah, it's like all they have at the desk level.
You only do like 20 G's at a time. That's all I can chunk out.
They'll say 20, and you'll go through like 4 claims. You'll be like, what about this one? Well, we looked at this one real closely. We're thinking 20. And you're like, you kind of look at it closely because then you want to say 20. But they do say 20 a lot. And they do seem to they get relatively stuck on that number a lot of the times. But we usually can work those things out. But it is funny. Again, 25 offer you 20, 50 offer you 20, 70 offer you 20. And so you may hear that number a lot.
That's great. That's great.
But yes,
so if you're an insured, then and again, we're always doing we always encourage the DIY, for you to do it yourself. So if you're handy, do your own drywall. If you're handy, you can do your own electrical. If you're handy, maybe you can do this. You can figure this out too. Get a hold of FIGA and make sure, even if you have their claim filed with UPC, go ahead and call FIGA.
Yep.
And see if you can.
I want to say I want to make a notice of claim, and they may say wait or call me in a month or whatever they tell you. You got to stay on them because those time frames will come and go, and all of a sudden you'll think you got a lot of time. Because again, once you contact them, they have to mail you the form. Right. So if it's due on Friday and it's Tuesday, you're not like, again, most of us think these days, I'll download the form, then I'll email it to them and I'll be fine. Well, again, there's a lot of questions on documentation they may want.
Yeah, maybe you can talk them into emailing you if you get somebody on the phone and say, can you email me the form directly? But go ahead and file that claim again and get a notice of claim in with FIGA if you've already had a UPC claim filed. If you had a representative like a public adjuster, an attorney, poke them to go ahead and do that. Now, if you need an attorney, this is where you're going to turn your attention to Hans Kennon with the Kennon Law Group. How do they get a hold of you? Sure.
My cell phone, as I always give out, is 407-782-0258. And my office line is 407-464-HANS. Which is 4267. Oh, there's the phone ringing right now.
There it is.
But 407-464-HANS.
We have operators standing by.
Operators are, as a matter of fact, are standing by. So if you need anything from me, feel free to reach out. Thanks.
Awesome. And that's the best way to do it is get representation and make sure that you get paid for the damages that were done to your structure and that you paid your full insurance premium for.
Yeah.
That's really it. It's been a little while since FedNat. I think that was one of the other ones that was recently went out that maybe you may have a policy out, then you're definitely dealing with FIGA at this point.
Yes.
It's just UPC is under the state currently until March 24th, 2024. And at that point, it's 100% FIGA at that point. No more UPC.
Yeah, UPC stopped writing checks 11 months ago or something. When they went out, they go out and that's really it. And I've had many a client with a check that got sent before the liquidation, and by the time they got it, they went into liquidation, the check was bad.
Yep. Bounced.
Yes.
Yep. And if that happened, and you have to make a claim to FIGA to get that reimbursed.
You do. You would. Yeah, there's no other recourse you have against the insurer at that point since they're out of business.
There you go. And if they wanted, I think your website, you got a new website too now, right?
Yeah. So it's KennonLawGroup.com. Thank you.
There it is.
Because I had another one before. And one thing about FIGA too is no matter how they treat you, you cannot sue FIGA for bad faith claims handling. So they can treat you very poorly, and you have no remedy against that. So
going back to the DMV.
Back to the DMV. So to the extent you can handle it, it's a good time to sharpen your people skills. You try to kill them with kindness. I mean, because yelling at FIGA doesn't get you really going to get you anywhere.
Right.
So it's really more of a function of pleasantries. And I know you got a lot of you have a lot of cases and a lot of claims. I'm sure that's tough on you. I think you go that route, you'll do better with them than any other tactic you might try to.
Yeah,
use.
I'm just here to help you get this one off your desk.
Right. Whatever you need forms. I always tell all my clients too, if they ever ask, I go, if you want someone to give you money, the best way to get them to do that is give them all the information they want. A lot of lawyers I know will say, well, I'm waiting on that. I'll use that at trial. I'm like, it's not fair to the client. If we have information that'll help you get paid today instead of a year from now or 2 years from now, turn it over. If the form says, ask you questions that you think they should already know, which I get all the time, my clients who go, what do we need? They know the data loss. And I'm like, A, it doesn't matter. B, you got to fill it out. And C, if we're nice to these people, the odds of things going better are certainly going to go up. if really, I'm telling you, with the civil servant side especially, because those folks, they got boxes to check, right? I mean, they're, and all the insurers do, but some of them are a little more flexible, a little more, business. This is a business decision, things like that. For people like FIGA, they're audited every year, just honestly like Citizens is too, to a great extent. So, if they don't check all the boxes, fill out all the forms, they can't give you what you're looking for. So you have to kind of, take a deep breath and go, all right. I mean, the reality is FIGA knows nothing about your claim. I mean, it's not like they sit down with 30,000 claims when the insurers go out and say, all right, boys, let's all sit down and read 30,000. So when Mr. Smith calls, we'll be up to speed. It just doesn't work that way. Right. Again, which is why you need to call them. You be nice. You give them your name, give them your birth date, whatever they want, and see if you can get it worked out. And I always say, and if you can't, that's what I do.
Nice. Good. There it is, man. That's your
What the FIGA?
Yeah, what the FIGA update for you right there. What's going on with the FIGA if you have that type of UPC, FedNat, Gulfstream, Avatars, any of those ones that went into receivership in the state of Florida and then gave those claims up to FIGA. That's your update there. March 24th, 2024 for all UPC. There's 91,000 policies out there. A lot of claims did happen for the September 28th, 2022 storm date, which is Hurricane Ian.
Right.
A lot of those are still outstanding, and if you were one of them, then unfortunately you have to wait until after the stay is done with the UPC stay. They went to court, got another 6 months, and then it's going to FIGA. What you can do now is contact FIGA, make sure that you had a full
notice of claim.
Yep, notice of claim package filled out.
Just be nice and stay on them, and just make sure you don't miss any deadlines along the way, or give me a call if you don't want to.
There you go. And grab your ticket. It's like you go to Publix and you pull the little ticket with a number on it.
Right for the deli, yeah.
Yeah, and you sit there and you wait. But at least if you don't have a number, you won't get called.
Right.
So get your number is what we're saying. What can you do from now? Get your number and hold on to it, right? And wait till after the 24th.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff there. All right, guys, if you like the show, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, find us on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere that we can stream or be recorded. Check us out for all of our other shows and episodes and guests with roofers, with dry out guys, with drywall guys and air conditioning folks, public adjusters, all of those different topics that you want to listen to if you're in this home insurance market as a consumer or as a service provider. This is the kind of stuff you want to hear. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Very good. See everybody next week.
That's right. See you guys.